Good evening to all of you. So today we are going to discuss about the concept of passive elements. What is meant by passive elements? Passive elements means the elements which are capable of absorbing the energy or the elements which are capable of storing the energy. Normally we used to call it as a passive element. So passive element means absorbing the energy, absorbing the energy, absorbing the energy, absorbing the energy, or storing the energy, storing the energy, storing the energy. Normally we used to call it is passive elements. We used to call it is passive element. Example for the passive elements are R, L and C. We will discuss one by one, one by one, one by one. What is meant by resistance? So we are having a resistance. So resistance, symbolically we used to be represented, resistance is R. We used to be represented as R. Okay, we used to be denoted with R. Unit is ohms. Symbolic representation of resistance is R will be like this. R will be like this, symbolical representation of R. So what is meant by resistance? Resistance is a passive element which will absorb the energy whenever the current will flow through it. Whenever the current will flow through the resistance R, it used to be absorb the energy. So whenever the current will flows, ultimately there is a voltage drop. There is a voltage drop which will be occurring in a circuit. There is a voltage drop which is occurring in a circuit. What is Ohm's law? Whenever the current will flowing through the circuit, whenever the current flowing through the circuit is directly proportional to the potential difference across the circuit and inversely proportional to the resistance R. Inversely proportional to the resistance R. Provided the temperature remains constant. Provided the temperature remains constant. Okay. Where I is proportional to V by R. So you can able to write I is equal to K into V by R, where K is constant. So you can able to write I is equal to V by R, nothing but amperes. V is equal to I into R, nothing but volts. R is equal to V by I, nothing but what? Ohms. Normally you can able to represent like this. Ohms and okay. So this is what resistance. Resistance is a passive element which will absorb the energy whenever the current will flow through the circuit. So if the current will flow through the circuit, ultimately what is going to happen? It is directly proportional to the potential difference across the circuit and inversely proportional to the resistance R, provided the temperature remains constant. Therefore, I is equal to V by R amperes, V is equal to I into R volts, R is equal to V by I ohms. So you can able to derive the power. Power is P is equal to V into I, or P is equal to V into I. What is V? V is nothing but I into R. Multiply with I. Ultimately, you can able to write I square into R watts. This is what power. In a power, always whenever the current will flow through the resistance, power will be wasted in the form of I square into R loss. Now, next important concept, we need to be discuss about the inductance. What is meant by inductance? I hope you understood this concept. Next concept, what we are going to be proceed with the inductance. What is meant by inductance? So, inductance is nothing but inductance. The second element what we need to be discuss is inductance. So, inductance denoted by L. Unit of inductance is Henry. So now let me start. Inductance representation will be like this. We used to be represent like this L. Whenever the current will flows, no doubt there is a voltage drop which will be occurring in the inductor circuits. So inductance is a passive element which will stores the energy in the form of magnetic field. Always the energy will be stored in the form of the magnetic field. Inductance is a passive element which will store the energy in the form of magnetic field whenever the value of the current flows through it. So how to find out what is the voltage across the inductive circuit? What is the voltage across the inductive circuit? V is equal to L into di divided by dt. V is equal to L into di divided by dt. This dt, if you take in here in the left hand side, V into dt is equal to L into di. Now what I am going to do? I am going to do the integrating the above equation on both sides. on both sides. If I do the integration, ultimately what is going to happen? Integrating and differentiation will be gets cancelled. Okay, v into dt is equal to L into I. V into dt is equal to L into I. So integrating and differentiation will be gets cancelled. So L into I. So what is I? I is equal to 1 by L. 1 by L. 1 by L. Integrating of V into dt. I is equal to 1 by L. Integrating of V into dt. Now what is P? Power. Power is equal to V into I. Power is equal to V into I. So what is V? V is nothing but L into di divided by dt. L is equal to L into di divided by dt multiply with I. Multiply with I. This is what the power. So very, very important. What is the voltage across the inductance? L into di divided by dt. What is the current? What is the current carrying through the, what is the current which will flow through the inductive circuit? I is equal to 1 by L integration of V into dt. So P is equal to V into I kabatti L into di divided by dt multiply with I. Now what is the energy stored? The energy stored in the inductance. The energy stored in the inductance. The energy stored in the inductance normally ela rastam. So we are going to write W is equal to integral of 0 to I. So P into dt. So what is 0 to I? What is P? L into di divided by dt multiply with I. As usual you are having dt here. As usual you are having dt is here. P value is L into di divided by dt multiply with I into dt. So this and this will be gets cancelled. Dt and dt will be gets cancelled. 0 into I, L into di into I. So you can able to write L. If you take out the L is outside. So 0 to I into di. So what is the integration of I? I square by 2. I square by 2. If you substitute the higher value also, you are going to get the half Li square. So this is joules. Half Li square in half Li square joules. This is what the inductance. They may ask, they say when we are dealing with the problem, definitely you should know what is the voltage across the inductance. Voltage across the inductance is L into di divided by dt. So V into dt is equal to L into di. If you do the integration to the above equation on both the sides, ultimately you are going to get integral of V into dt is equal to L into integration differentiation will be gets cancelled L into I. So I is equal to 1 by L integral of V into dt. So what is power? Power in the inductance V into I. So V is nothing but L into di divided by dt multiply with the I. So now the energy stored in the inductance W is equal to 0 to I P into dt. So L into di divided by dt multiply with I into dt. So dt and dt will be gets cancelled. L into di into I. So if you take out L outside, 0 to I is equal to I into di. So energy stored in the inductance is half Li square joules. Next. The next important concept we need to be discuss is capacitance. What is meant by capacitance? What is meant by capacitance? So we used to be the third important element is capacitance. Capacitance is denoted as C. Unit is farad. And symbolic representation of capacitance will be like this. This is the value of C. Capacitance is nothing but it is a passive element which will store the energy in the form of electrical field whenever the value of the current flows through it. Whenever there is a value of the current flows through it, so we are having the voltage across the capacitance is very, very important. So now what is the current flowing through the circuit? I is equal to, what is the current flowing through the capacitance? I is equal to C into dV divided by dt. I is equal to C into dV divided by dt. So if you take out the dt in the left hand side, I into dt is equal to C into dV. So if you do the integrating the above equation, on both sides. If you do the integration, so integral of I into dt is equal to C into V. Integral of I into dt is equal to C into differentiation and integration will be gets cancelled. So you are going to get V. So what is V? V is equal to 1 by C integral of I into dt. V is equal to 1 by C integral of I into dt. Now you need to find out what is power. Power is equal to what? Power is equal to V into I. Power is equal to V into I. So V multiplied with what is I? I is nothing but C into dV divided by dt. So now I need to be find out what is the energy stored in the capacitance. I need to find out what is the energy stored in the capacitance. So energy stored in the capacitance, how we are going to be find out the energy stored in the capacitance. So we are having the value of integral of, now there is a 0 to V. So we are having the value of power V into C into dV divided by dt multiplied with dt. V into C dV by dt multiply with the dt. So now what we need to do, this dt and this dt will be gets cancelled. So you are having V C into V into dV. So 0 to V. 0 to V. So now if you take out the 0, C outside, so 0 to V. So V into dV. So integration of V, you are going to get V square by 2. So half CV square. Normally we used to write in as joules. So the energy stored in the capacitance is half CV square. So they may ask the question, this is very important, what are the passive element, okay, and explain the relationship of the voltage and current. Sketch the relation between the voltage and current. So you need to be mentioned the resistance value, inductance value, capacitance value. You should have the fingertips. You should have the formulas in fingertip. What is the current flowing through the capacitance? I is equal to C into dV by dt. What is the voltage across the capacitance? V is equal to 1 by C integral of I into dt. What is the energy stored in the capacitance? Half CV square joules. What is the voltage across the inductance? V is equal to L into dI divided by dt. What is the current flowing through the inductance? I is equal to 1 by L integral of V into dt. So okay, V is equal to L into dI divided by dt. I is equal to 1 by L integral of V into dt. So what is the energy stored in the capacitance? Inductance, half L square. So what is meant by inductor? Inductance is a passive element which will store the energy in the form of magnetic field. Capacitance is whenever the value of the current will flow through it. Ultimately, what is the capacitance? Capacitance is a passive element which will store the energy in the form of what? Capacitance will be stored the energy in the form of electrical field whenever the value of the current will flow through it. What is meant by resistance? Resistance is a passive element which will absorb the energy. P is equal to always I square into R loss will be occur whenever the current will flow through the resistance R. So these are all you should have the fingertips on that. What is meant by ideal voltage source? What is meant by practical voltage source? What is meant by ideal current source? What is meant by practical current source? All this you should have the fingertips on that matter. Okay, thank you for watching this video.